Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Figured if we could get kind of cozy today because I feel like for this video I am just feeling very nostalgic and it just puts me in a really good mood, makes me feel very like warm and fuzzy inside. So we're sitting on a really big comfy chair and yeah, I'm really excited to get into today's video, which is basically 10 books that got me into reading and made me really fall in love with reading. I feel like if you are in a reading slump, if you are trying to read more, you want inspiration, then this video is for you, or just a video to make you think of books that got you into loving reading more and kind of just looking back on some of your 5-star reads. So I'm gonna mention a few of mine and hopefully these will resonate with you, inspire you.
Before we get into it, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and please be sure to subscribe
if you like bookish content. And yeah, so without further ado, let's jump into the video. First book I want to mention is actually a book series I read in quarantine, and I think that's kind of what really just amped up this reading phenomenon that has been happening lately, specifically with like book talk. People have been reading more that I know of than they have when I was younger, and I feel like just being locked up for a year did that to a lot of people. So I feel like this book series will resonate with a lot of people as far as a book that got you back into reading and just fall in love with reading again. And it's a book that's really popular. I've mentioned it many times, and that is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. This book series literally changed my life because when I read this book series, it just sparked something in me. It reignited my love for reading, and ever since then I just have not been able to stop. It wanted me to pursue this, like making my own channel and talk about it more, talk about my love for books more and recommendations and everything like that. So really I owe this entire video and channel and everything to this book series, because before then I was just really just in the thick of working a lot. When I wanted downtime, I would just watch TV or a new Netflix show and not really read too much. I love reading, I just had forgotten my love for it. So yeah, this book series is a new adult, so not YA, fantasy romance, and it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling. Book 1 is anyway. It is a 5-book series, but they're still making more, and I think that it's perfect for anyone that is a romance person but has not gotten into fantasy and you want to. This is a good option. If you like fantasy and you want to dabble into some romance, this is a good option. Even if you are a young adult reader and you are kind of branching out of that, you want to transition into more adult type of literature, this could be a good option as well because it's new adult, so it's going to have elements of both. And I think the series as a whole, the plotline, everything was just so fun, so engaging. It's really going to remind you of some books that you read probably when you were growing up. Like I said, it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so there's that. And then it's gonna have some elements in there that are more fantasy based, but also kind of remind you of the Hunger Games. So we have like a competition, we have trials and things that happen, and that to me was really nostalgic. It just brought back a lot of memories for some books that I used to really like growing up. And yeah, from there, just the rest of the series is amazing. And my favorite one is the second one, but the first one is really, really good. And I think if you are looking for a book to get into reading, or you want to reignite it, give it a read for the first time, give it a reread. I've read it a few times already and I loved it. The next book I wanted to mention is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is my first audiobook that I've ever listened to and I loved it. I ended up buying the physical copy and I plan on doing a reread of it eventually. This was a 5-star thriller. I feel like this book was everything I needed in a thriller. It had a lot of mind games and it really made you think. And it gave you kind of the chills as well because of the setting. I think anything set in some sort of like asylum or medical type of prison facility.
Chef's kiss. It's awesome.
And I think if you are interested in dabbling in this genre, this is the book I would always recommend. A book that is YA and also kind of creepy that I loved so much. This was a more recent read. I read it a few months ago. That was Small Favors by Erin A. Craig. This is the first book I've read from her, and I was so pleasantly surprised reading this book how much I enjoyed the writing style. It was enchanting in a way that a dark gloomy forest is enchanting. Like, you want to go in, but you know nothing good can come out of it, but you have to go anyway. That's what this book was. I think the story of Rumpelstiltskin is mysterious and kind of creepy, and the fact that we have this person in this book that resembles this fairy tale character, but make him kind of handsome. And we have this village that's in the middle of nowhere, secluded, and things start happening and there's no way they can get help. It was awesome. I think this is a great segue as well into a darker themed genre. If you're not interested in that really, but you want to get into it and you're a fan of YA, this is awesome. I haven't read any of her other books, but her writing style was just phenomenal in my opinion. And yeah, I was very, very happy discovering this book. And I feel like more people should talk about it because it was really good. Next, I think would be my favorite book series of all time. And that's saying a lot because I am a huge fan of some other fantasy series, but Once Upon a Broken Heart and The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber has quickly become my all-time favorite book series. Yeah, it is magical, enchanting, the writing. I just want to live in this world of the Magnificent North. Evangeline Fox, our main character, is so much like me in a lot of ways. I love it because I see myself through her as I'm reading and as she's going about the things happening in the book. I'm putting myself in there and it just makes it for a very fun read. I think if you are interested in a fantasy world that really comes to life, makes you think of Alice in Wonderland almost, where anything is possible, but sprinkle in a little bit of like villainous characters and a villain that you can't help but love, forbidden love, a love triangle. Yeah, I think all of those things
make it just so good. I love it so much.
And I promise I will be doing a dedicated plot summary of these two books before book 3 comes out. I promise. But yes, this book probably is like my number one in this video. If you don't take anything from this recommendations or this video of books that I have deemed 5-star worthy, give this one a shot because it is just, I haven't heard a negative review yet. So I'm just saying, I think it's worth your time. Another book that I really loved was All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. This book is, I think, the only actual romance book on this list, and it's a contemporary romance. I am not the biggest fan. I find that this genre can be pretty cheesy, but if you're interested in just maybe some spice, then you would like contemporary romance. I really am just interested in more of the plot, and this had it. I think because it was such a slow burn romance and it didn't focus too much on like the intimacy between these two characters, but their own individual, and then them coming together at the end, it just made it so much better in my opinion. So I appreciated that so much, and it really made me start trusting romance books again. So yeah, this book series takes place in a small town, I think in Colorado, and we have a girl who grew up here. She comes back into town after living away from a long time in order to solve a mystery involving her mom, and we have a grumpy sunshine type of romance here. We have not really enemies to lovers, but I would say our main guy is a little grumpy, rough around the edges. He's a single dad. I was pleasantly surprised with how much I would love a contemporary romance, but this checked all of my boxes for me. And after reading this one, I read more of her books, and I find that she's just a really good author in my opinion, and I liked pretty much every book she's written so far. So yes, if you're interested in romance, but you're really not into the cheesiness of some popular ones that are roaming around on TikTok, I think this one is worth checking out. This one's been out for a while, but The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue was another one that I listened to during COVID. And as I was listening to it, I was just
so blown away
by the imagery and just how impressive the writing was, like the plot of this book. It was dark, it was sad, it was emotional. I don't actually think it ends in a happily ever after. I think it's just whatever you want it to be. If you think that's a happy ever after, then great. And then if you don't, then you don't. I think when a book is able to do that and really just make you think, it's a really good book. V.E. Schwab has really great imagery, and her writing style is mature but easy enough to understand, where it's not too complex, but the plot is complex. Everything going on, like this magical realism setting, is a lot to digest, but it's great. I love it. And yeah, it is a little darker. Addie LaRue's life and how people can't remember her is very sad, but it makes you think about your own life. Really stirs up some questions up in here. So loved it. Love it. And it's worth checking out. If you haven't read any of her books yet, read this one. Just a heads up. Like I said, it is a little darker. It's kind of sad, but it's worth reading anyway. The most recent book that I think makes this list is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. She did a great job of creating a world of fairies that are unlike a lot of popular fae books right now. What I mean by that is you're not going to have the swoon-worthy fae character that just like oozes sex appeal. We have species of different types of fairies, and they're being studied by our main character, Emily Wilde. And so that makes it really fun and interesting, unique, quirky. It's very cozy, it's low stakes, simplistic, but the writing is more mature. So I can see how people would find this boring, but for me, I think I just found it refreshing. It made me feel really happy in a simple way. Because there wasn't high stakes in this book, it wasn't making me anxious. It wasn't stressing me out. It was just all vibes. And if you're looking for a book that is no plot, just vibes, I think this is it. And I think there's gonna be a sequel, so I'm excited to read more of Emily Wilde's life and Wendell Bamblebee. And yes, if you're interested in a unproblematic book, I think this is the book for you. Last book I want to mention is a book I binge read, and this is for people that want to just speed read through something, that want multiple books, and you just want to gobble it up because you fall in love with these two characters and the character development. There is a lot of controversy on book one, but I think if you can get past it, it is worth reading, and that is the Plated Prisoner series. There is Gild, Glint, Gleam, Glow, and then Gold will be the last one releasing, I think, at the end of this year. So it is sort of a King Midas reimagining. Book one is. You should go in there knowing that we have a very flawed character who is dealing with a lot. She's got a lot of trauma. Again, we have a character that reminds me of me. Maybe that's why I love it so much. And similar to Evangeline in Once Upon a Broken Heart, Auren is quiet and held back, and she restrains a lot of stuff to the point where she didn't even know it was in her to be anything other than this meek woman. And it takes a lot for her to break out of that. So I can see why women don't like her, because she can't stick up for herself. As the story progresses, as the series progresses, you want a character to learn from their mistakes, to grow. And you do see this gradually. I really enjoyed it. I think that the magic was cool. It was different. And there wasn't a ton of spice, but the romance that was there was very romantic and nice. And yeah, I really liked it as far as a fantasy romance goes. I gave this a 5-star rating. And if you are interested in fantasy romance, I would recommend checking this out, especially if you are in a reading slump, or you haven't read a book in a while, you haven't read a series in a while. This could be a good option. Again, trust me when I say that book 1 was heavy, but the rest of the series just flies by. It's great. Like, there's drama in all of the books, but book 1 is the heaviest to deal with, so it's worth it still. But yeah, those are the books or book series that really got me falling in love with reading and wanting to read more. I hope, like I said, that this inspires you to read more, to get out of a slump, to be inspired to create a channel or just talk about books more in your personal life and make it something that is fun for you. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found some of these recommendations helpful. And until next time, I will catch you in my next video. Bye!